Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to my live stream. Today I'm doing some beginner content because I had a Patreon member, I think Carrie, recommend that I do some more beginner content. So I wanted to do a warm-up exercise for you guys today. And this warm-up basically just gets you used to playing in one position. So that's assigning each finger to a fret, and then it gets your plucking hand used to alternating fingers like an electric bass player would, rather than playing with your thumb like a ukulele player would. So there are two parts to it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to isolate the hands so we can get each part down before we put them together. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just general right hand technique. So instead of using our thumb, we're going to use our index and our middle finger, and we're going to alternate them back and forth as we play each string. So on the E string, I'm playing my index finger first, then I'm playing my middle finger. Index, middle, index, middle. So that's what we're talking about. Now you might notice, like right now, I'm letting my hand hover, and that's not generally the best technique, but U-bass is kind of a weird instrument. Let's talk about where you can put your thumb on the U-bass to kind of stabilize your hand if you want to. So you could stabilize your thumb on the neck right here. There's just a little part where the neck sticks out. You could literally put your thumb right there, and that's one way to anchor your thumb so it feels more like electric bass would with your thumb over a pickup or on the neck as well. The other idea, or another idea, because there's more than one, is to put your thumb over the sound hole, just anywhere over here or over here, and just have your thumb rest against the body. So that's another way to anchor your thumb while you're using your index and middle finger to alternate to play the strings. And then the other option is to let it kind of float or have it sit against the body while you're playing the E string. But as soon as you go to the A string, let your thumb rest on the E string. So what this does is it adds a built-in muting technique so that the E string doesn't ring out while you're trying to play the other strings. So that would be like your thumb's up here on the body, or it's floating in the air while you're playing on the E string. And as soon as you go to the other strings, you mute the E string with your thumb and just let it kind of sit there. So those are three different options, but either way, we're going to be playing index, middle on each string. Hold on one second. I got to click something here. If you have any questions while we're doing the stream, just enter them in and I'll be glad to answer you on the video. So what we're going to do now that we've got the idea down with the right hand is we're literally just going to play index, middle on each string. So on the E string, then the A string, then the D string, and the G string. So the thing I want you to notice here is that I'm not adding extra time in between switching the strings. So each note is evenly spaced. If you have trouble doing this on your own, you could play along to a metronome. So you could either download a metronome app or go buy a metronome. And what I would suggest is when you're starting out, try setting it to 50 or 60, just so you can get really used to playing the notes evenly, playing right on the click, and just make sure you're doing it right. So now that we've got that idea, let's try playing it together. I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Index, middle, in the A string, and the D string, and the G. Okay, so that's our basic right hand technique. So now we're going to switch over to the left hand. And while we're working on the left hand technique, don't really worry too much about what the right hand is doing yet. We're going to put them together at the end of the video. We're just isolating the left hand right now. So first, we're just going to take 4 frets in a row, and I'm just going to use frets 1, 2, 3, and 4. So my index finger is going to play the first fret. My middle finger is going to play the second fret. My ring finger is going to play the third fret. And my pinky is going to play the fourth fret. And we're going to do this regardless of what string we're playing on. So you're assigning one finger to one fret. Okay, so now we've got that idea. What we're going to do is we're going to push down on the frets either in the middle of the fret or slightly closer to the actual piece of metal. So we're either closer to us within the little square that the frets create, or we're right in the middle, just depending on your U-bass. I think with the rubber strings, at least on the Wanderer, it actually works better to be in the middle rather than right on the fret. Whereas on electric bass, it's easier to be really close to the fret rather than in the middle. So let me see if I can demonstrate a little bit so you can see what I mean. So on electric bass, it's better to be up here where I'm right behind that fret, but not quite over it. And on the rubber string U-basses, it might be a little bit easier to be right in the middle so that you can push down more. So it just depends on your U-bass. Try those out, but you don't want to be way back here. That's just going to make it harder to push down. You're going to have to put more effort into every note that you play. Okay, so now we got that idea. Just keep that in mind with every finger, right? At least be in the middle of the fret. So you might have to stretch your hand a little bit. And a lot of that has to do with thumb placement on the back. So make sure your thumb's not too high. Mine might actually be a little bit too high right now. I'll lower the thumb a little bit. Allows me to curve the fingers more so I don't have to stretch quite as much. But let's jump back into just playing the exercise. So we've got the first fret on the E string, the second fret on the E string, the third fret on the E string, and then the fourth. Now we're going to go up to the A string and do the same thing. A string first fret, A string second fret, A string third fret, and then with our pinky we're going to do the fourth fret. Then we go to the D string. Same pattern. And finally the G string. Okay, so the idea is to get as little string noise and as little fret buzz as possible out of this hand. So now that we've got the notes down, we're going to once again evenly space the notes, even when we're going from string to string. So here's what it'll sound like when we do that. And you might notice that even when I was playing there was a little bit of fret buzz. U-bass is just a really hard instrument to get all the fret buzz out of. Sometimes you get a little bit of fret noise when you let go of a note and you're going to the next string. Okay, so now that we've got the left hand technique down, what we can do is kind of combine these two. And so at first, this is really tricky because you have to continue alternating your index and middle finger while you're doing index, middle, ring, pinky on the left hand or the fretting hand. So basically what I do is I think what my right hand is doing and I watch what my left hand is doing. So in my mind, I'm thinking index, middle, but I'm watching my left hand to make sure that it's always going index, middle, ring, pinky. So let me demonstrate what I mean. I'm thinking about this hand, but I'm watching this hand to make sure it does the right thing. So I'm going index, middle, 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 index, middle. So that way I'm really watching this hand to make sure it's going index, middle, ring, pinky, but I'm thinking what this hand is doing. And the reason I'm doing that is because you'll find at first that the coordination is something you have to develop. So when you're developing that coordination, this hand might start doing the same thing as the other hand. So if you're going index, middle, ring, pinky, this hand might be going index, middle, ring, pinky, and that's not what we want. And in the same regard, sometimes I notice that when students start this one, their left hand doesn't want to do the correct fingers if they're doing the correct fingers in the right hand. They might do something like this. And then the most common thing that happens is on the right hand, at some point, you just kind of throw out the idea of alternating subconsciously, and your hand just starts doing more than one of the same finger in a row. And we really want to keep them alternating the entire time. So if you make that mistake, it would sound like index, middle, 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 right? But we really just want to go index, middle, index, middle. So take it slow when you're doing this at first. And that's not taking it slow. So the tempo that I would pick to do it slow with the metronome, at first, I would go down to 40 on the metronome. Let me pull up a metronome so we can hear what 40 sounds like. Okay, so this is 40. So it feels really slow, but we're using this so we can make sure we're playing accurately. So we're going to try this together. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. If you got through that and did it correctly the first time, please let me know in the comments below. If you had trouble with it, let me know what happened in the comments below. And if you're not quite sure what happened or what went wrong or something when you're playing that, then that means we're not ready for the metronome yet, and we want to go even slower on our own without the metronome to get comfortable with the mechanics of it. So you could also do this. You could go index left hand, index right hand, middle on both. Ring on left hand, index on right hand. And then pinky on left hand, middle on right hand. And you could literally go through it like that, stating what it needs to be to make sure your hands are doing that instead of randomly doing something else. So to me, this is one of the best exercises because it gets your right hand alternating and it gets your left hand used to playing in a position. So now that we've got that down, we can add to this exercise so that instead of just playing this one position, we get to utilize more of the neck. So first, we just go through the exercise how we did. But then once we get to the end of the exercise, when we're on the 4th fret of the G string, we're going to slide our whole hand up to where now our pinky is on the 5th fret, our ring finger is on the 4th fret, our middle finger is on the 3rd fret, and our pointer finger, our index finger, is on the 2nd fret. So now we're going to go descending. We're going to start with the pinky, then the ring finger, then the middle, then the index. But our right hand is still going to alternate index, middle, index, middle. So once you've mastered that coordination, you might find that it's hard to do it in the opposite order because now it's index lining up with pinky, middle on the plucking hand lining up with ring on the fretting hand, and so forth. So it might feel backwards once again, so you'll have to kind of redevelop the coordination here. once you get done with that and you're on the 2nd fret of the E string, having descended all the way through, so the reverse of the pattern that we originally did, then you're going to move up a fret to fret 3. Now your pointer finger is on the 3rd fret. And it's like we're starting the pattern over, but we're in this position now. Then you'll slide your hand up 1 more fret and start on your pinky. Okay, and you'll slide up again. And again. And I'd recommend stopping at the 12th fret, moving up 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, just because these frets are just kind of harder to reach and you'd have to move your thumb out from behind the neck in order to play them. So it just gets a little frustrating and a little too demanding. And most of the time as bass players, we're going to be playing down here anyway. So I hope this was very helpful for you. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more content like this, let me know. And if you have any questions about this, also feel free to leave them below. I'm going to start doing more beginner content. And thanks to Carrie on Patreon for recommending this one. If you'd like to recommend something, you can go to my Patreon page and become a member. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out.